and welcome to the New World Review, your source for everything anime and manga, and today we have more of the series that is Black Clover, as we embark on a review of the 5th arc in the series known as the Underwater Temple, the very mention of which gave me some pretty extreme PTSD vibes in regards to every water temple in The Legend of Zelda ever. However, this Black Clover related experience was far more enjoyable. Which, speaking of, if you, dear viewer, are finding these videos enjoyable, then kindly do the thing it is where you subscribe to this here YouTube channel as well as like the video to let me know that you want more Black Clovery stuff. As per usual, I'm unlikely to be reading the comments in this video for spoiler reasons, so that's how you let me know. But as for the Underwater Temple, like most Black Clover related stories thus far, we have quite a simple setup. Evil people are after Magic Stone. Magic Stone is in temple. Protagonists go to temple to get Magic Stone. Easy, done. Except this time things are simplified once more because this is essentially a Black Bull exclusive story. In previous arcs, we've been taking quite a bit of time to feature other factions of the Magic Knights or the Diamond Kingdom, but on this occasion, it's pretty much all about the Bulls, which I appreciated. We've been spending quite a while now learning about them one by one, so it was very satisfying to see them all come together as a group and just watch how they interact with one another, which was quite shenaniganry filled. I mean, I say all of them, but there is still this one apparently dude that we have yet to meet, the sort of goth looking guy, who is hard countered by the very concept of a beach. That's fine though, it's always nice to keep some mystery in play. Of course, it's not quite as simple as recovering a miscellaneous rock though, because the temple is a pain to get into, and even when they do, the squad are lured into a game, after which said game gets crashed by the most powerful threat we've faced to this point, with Mr. Midnight Cult Guy. So there's lots and lots to go through, but I'm going to start with Noelle. This arc gave her some much needed focus because as of late, she's been a bit on the sidelines, and in fact, she spent the entirety of the last arc as comic harem relief, being all obsessed with Asta and stuff. And there's a tiny bit of that here, but it quickly shifts to surpassing her limits, a phrase which is repeated many times during this arc. One that we've heard before, but is really cemented here. But it's really nice to see Noelle grow, and she proved invaluable during the course of the Underwater Temple, which is of course an ideal venue for her water magic. But in addition to having a breakthrough, allowing her to take the bulls into the temple, Noelle is actually the first character to get in a decent hit on our main antagonist as well. She actually has startlingly phenomenal power, which continues to make her a nice contrast to Asta, the ultimate talent in magic, standing alongside the ultimate talent of not magic. And we also got to know a bit more about Noelle as well, specifically why she was ostracized by her family. It's not just a lack of magic control, but apparently giving birth, Noelle also killed the matriarch of the family. So all of her siblings despise Noelle for that, especially because she can't even replace that loss by being a classically noble mage thing. Doesn't matter, those guys suck. They still suck so hard. And Noelle has the Black Bulls now, all of whom come to cheer her on early on in the arc, and Noelle repays those bonds by standing proud at the Action-Packed Climax. Oh, and most importantly, she has her own Fuego Leon moment, remembering his words about being weak, which is one of my favorite quotes I think ever. And I really do love this because in the last arc, Asta had a very similar moment remembering Fuego Leon's words to him. So these two are both growing, and it's fantastic. But to talk about the setting for a bit, after Noelle actually gets everyone in there, the Underwater Temple is indeed pretty cool, but it felt a bit underexplored to me. I really like that there was this whole civilization down there. I think that was much better than just entering another empty temple like the first dungeon we did. But in the end, I just feel like I know next to nothing about these guys. You know, who are they? Why do they live down here? Why can't they just go up to the surface? They clearly have magic powerful enough to do so, so what gives? And these questions may be answered in the future, but despite the fact that it really wasn't explored that well in my opinion, I guess it plays into one of the overall themes of the series being discrimination in general. Either they are discriminated against by those living on the surface, or the undersea dwellers prefer to stay isolated for sea-dwelling reasons. I don't know why. And I really do wish we'd gotten to know a bit more about their culture because they feel quite glossed over. Even our more main sea characters being Kyoto and Kohono, they had their own dreams and tragedy, but something about them just didn't really seem to equate to the other arc-specific side characters that we'd met up until this point. The two of them were just a bit more shallow, which is ironic given how far underwater we were. You know what, doesn't really matter though, because as stated before, this arc is all about the Black Bulls. And I do want to mention briefly just how well thought out this scenario is from Tabata. I've mentioned this before, but he's pretty phenomenal at creating these very natural situations. Like in any other series, giving such an important mission to a band of absolute misfits and keeping our rookie protagonists at the forefront can be a very difficult task, because logically, there are just better people for the job. But Tabata solves problems like these with such an envious ease. The Black Bulls need to be used because of the fear of a traitor in other squads, Yami can't be involved in the action because the game would be deemed uninteresting with him there, and Asta needs to be the one to play a key role in slicing up the bad guy because even when they know it exists, anti-magic is still such an overpowered X factor in combat. And so it all just kind of works with seemingly no effort at all. Meanwhile, all of the effort is seen portrayed amongst the Black Bulls themselves. This was such a great showcase of teamwork with all of them splitting off into smaller groups. And one duo that really took my eye was Mana and Locke, with the whole mini flashback about the first time that Mana had met Locke and how he became his first friend and everything. It was quite touching seeing these goofballs together, and even better was that it was another emotional realization not triggered by Asta, so it felt more natural and earned. In fact, that in general was the really big selling point to me about this arc. We finally got to see the Black Bulls just interact with each other absent of Asta, and I love their dynamic. It's such a fascinating group to follow. And another fun combination during the arc would be Ghosh and Grey. Grey being someone who I honestly did not remember meeting, likely because she was someone else at the time. But Grey happens to have one of my favorite magic types at the moment though, because transformation magic is kind of like the ultimate introvert skill set. I am truly envious of her ability to just walk around as anyone she sees fit. And also it was one of those stupidly clever combinations from Tabata, with Ghosh being a mirror user and Grey essentially being a reflection. So I do appreciate little thematic details like that. With that said, my favorite team up by far was the final trio of Asta, Vanessa and Finral. Mostly because I never would have predicted those two to be such perfect partners for Asta. I mean, Vanessa said it best herself when she asked, how can you trust a drunk woman and a superficial wimp with your life? And you know, it's kind of true. Like, they were really the last two I expected to be caught up in the ultimate battle of the arc, but they both also had their own little flashbacks and moments, and it was just so damn good to watch these three completely ruin Veto. Someone who none of these three have any business standing up to whatsoever. His power is ridiculous, and it was like watching skilled players take down a raid boss in a game. And speaking of, let's get to Veto. I feel like I should care about him, but I don't. Not yet anyway. And I think that's intentional, because after he was beaten and killed, Tabata stages this moment of respect for Veto from Yami and Asta, the latter of which states that the one who felt the most despair was obviously Veto. So there's this undoubtedly very sad story behind this man that I just don't know yet. And look, I say man, but that's probably wrong with all of this mythical beast magic at play. That one was a bit of a surprise actually. And Noelle even recalled a story she was told as a young member of nobility about a race of demons. And look, something tells me that whatever Veto actually was, they probably weren't all that evil. That just strikes me as the general direction of Black Clover. Victims turn perpetrators and all that. So whilst I still honestly don't care about Veto right now, I can see a situation where we learn of his past and the past of his race, and I look back on this and go, oh, that's actually really sad. Although I have to say his obsession with despair was, well, look, the word despair it's kind of ruined for me. It's honestly hard for me to take seriously because I am a huge fan of the Danganronpa games, where simply saying the word despair is like breathing oxygen. So that's all I could think of each and every time Veto did so. But I did love the moment where he got smacked in the face with the realization right at the end that not a single character had expressed even a shred of despair against him in this whole scenario. Not one. So suck it, bad guy, who probably isn't all that bad after all. And I suppose we should move on to Asta for a bit now. He's kind of always an afterthought for me, but there was one super important moment during this arc where we got to see that devil shadow thing again, as well as the titular Black Clover. Didn't get any answers regarding either of them, but we did see them, which I think is the first time since Asta received his grimoire. A boy who devours everything, even despair. I'm still really keen to know where his apparent path of darkness takes Asta, because as of right now, it doesn't look like it's had any impact on him whatsoever. He is still the epitome of optimistic and all that is good in this world. In fact, he has such a solid moral foundation that it's almost boring. And that's what kind of weirds me out about Asta. He doesn't seem to have a massive flaw, which this arc highlights actually, given that Veto chastises Asta for being a hot-headed dumbass who never gives up, but then Asta just turns that on its face and basically says, nah, me being a hot-headed dumbass who never gives up is my strongest feature. And it's just really bizarre that despite the fact that Asta is a magicless outcast, he is still kind of perfect. He picks up non-magic related skills almost instantly, everyone loves him, they're all inspired by him, most of the women want to be with him, and even his main rival Yuno treats him with the utmost respect. He's such a weird, stereotypical yet not stereotypical shonen protagonist. Meanwhile, Yami is indeed the best as per usual, and like I said before, the reason to keep him out of most of this arc was simple but effective. High Priest, man knew the game would be boring with him involved, and that's that. And I like that because characters like Yami can be very problematic problematic. Yami is at the point where he's so powerful that it really makes no sense not to have him involved in every series situation. So I do hope that Tabata is good enough to keep making these strategically, dramatically favorable decisions. And Yami, of course, also has the best line of the arc where he's speaking to his squad and he just says, "All of you surpass your limits right here and now. If you die, I'll kill you, that is all." And hey, wouldn't you know it, that's what everyone did. And amongst all of that, Yami himself finds a way to surpass his own limits and we get to see him level up, which was very cool. Although he does also hog all of the glory, taking down Veto single-handedly after the amazing effort put in by the rest of the squad, but you know, I'm okay with that because it's Yami. Oh, and something else involving Yami. Tabata seems to have gone to some great lengths in this arc to make it very clear that the Magic Knight ranking system is not to be equated with power, which yes, we did already know. However, it gets spelled out to us pretty clearly with all of the other Black Bulls being junior Magic Knights, apparently, who then go on to fight very well against the equivalent of intermediate and even senior ranks. And that also gets taken a step further when those juniors also combined take on the main antagonist who is either on or above the level of a captain, so ranking, wanking, whatever, doesn't matter. All I know is that I want more Charmy. She was absolutely robbed in this arc and needs more action immediately. But other than that, another very nice arc from Black Clover. I should also add that the Black Bulls got thanked at the end, which was a new experience for them, as they are generally looked down upon outcasts, so that was all nice and new. But that pretty much does it for this blind review of the Underwater Temple arc of Black Clover. And what do you guys think? Please do leave your thoughts in the comments below or even join my Discord server. And if you're keen for more Black Clover content, then please do go and check out some of my other videos or even subscribe to the channel for very, maybe regular Black Clover goodness delivered straight into your YouTube feed. But for now, this has been the New World Review, and I'll see you next time.